More on the Polish economy is Paolo von Schirach. He is the president of the Global Policy Institute. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
Well, Paolo, we didn't really see any concrete deals announced from this visit between these two leaders, not even on LNG, although there was plenty of talk about liquefied natural gas. We do know that Poland is going to begin getting U.S. shipments of LNG in the next 2 or 3 years. How does that play into the global supply and demand for energy?
Well, look, it's symbolically, it's quite interesting. Practically not that much. Of course, we've got plenty of natural gas here in the United States, thanks to fracking, thanks to hydraulic fracturing. Right. And it's quite cheap, but it's cheap at the wellhead. That is, in order to send it to Poland or any other country, it needs to send to a shore, to a plant which is quite expensive, an LNG plant that will essentially liquefy this gas. It has to be loaded on special vessels, has to go across the ocean, has to be regasified, and then go to the end point, to consumer. That adds to cost. And so here's the thing. American gas is great. Russian gas is cheap. And that's really what's going on. From the Polish perspective, and even Latvia and other countries that are bordering or close to the Soviet Union, to Russia, old Soviet Union, ex-Soviet Union, it's some kind of insurance policy. In other words, they have a very uneasy relationship with Russia, and therefore, to add to this complete dependence on a vital commodity, which is used for generation of electricity, it adds to the uneasiness. And so to know that if things really get bad, Uncle Sam here on the other side of the pond can supply some of the juice, so to speak, looks comforting. But realistically, America doesn't have right now the ability to send out much natural gas anyway, because we don't have the terminals here at home.
But they're building them.
Well, yes, but this is years, and billions of dollars. Number one. Number two, the privileged customer for this American LNG is Japan or Asia. Why? Because their higher prices, they're more used to higher prices. Japan is an island. You don't have pipelines connecting Japan to the mainland. And so, Japan is a more ideal customer for American LNG than Poland or other countries. That said, there will be probably a small increase in American deliveries over there. But as I said, it's more symbolic, showing the flag, than to say, we're going to shift the terms of trade and we're going to substitute American gas for Russian gas. This is not going to happen.
You talk about symbolism in this context. Is that also how you read this request by Duda for a U.S. military base in Poland?
Absolutely. Poland, while most European NATO countries have sort of misbehaved when it comes to defense spending, we know about this commitment that everybody made a few years ago to get to at least 2% of GDP spent on defense. Hardly anybody has met that goal. Poland has. Modest goal, but at least they've met it. And Poland has, on repeated occasion, proven to be a loyal ally to the United States, sending troops around the world, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and what have you. For them, and now hosting some contingents of NATO troops and American airplanes and what have you. To have a permanent base, again, just like the gas, insurance. The Russians get the message, guys. I mean, we have the Americans here. If you do something wrong to us, they're right here. We don't need to call them. They're already here. Right. And so symbolically, this becomes makes Poland a little more secure if that would come to pass. I don't have any specific knowledge as to whether this permanent base, that they would be willing to host with Americans on a permanent base there in Poland is going to happen. But certainly even the talk of this, puts Poland in a slightly better position.
I want to just quickly get to an economic question.
Sure.
In terms of Poland's economy, what explains the phenomenon and the rapid growth and prospects there, especially in the tech sector? How do you explain all that?
Well, I mean, I guess entrepreneurship, drive, how do you explain, success? It's hard to deconstruct it, because if we could do that, then everybody would copy it, and the whole world would be Silicon Valley, right? But it's not. Poland has managed quite well to become an integral part of Germany's supply chain. In other words, being the low-cost a little bit like, we could say Mexico is to the United States. In other words, a part of, a supplier of critical components and parts at a lower cost that feed American industry and manufacturing. Certainly, Poland has played this role with Germany. And so, but as you were indicating earlier on, the demographic crisis is looming large. And by the way, many young people are leaving the country as well. So you have a kind of a lopsided situation where the young people who are perhaps better educated and more promising for adding to the economy are leaving, and the old people are staying. So even though Poland has done remarkably well compared to the average of the EU countries, and by the way, it wasn't even really touched significantly by the big crisis of 2008. They were the only country that didn't.
We're going to have to wrap it there, but thanks so much for coming in, Paolo von Schirach, for your perspective on Poland and its economy. Thanks again.